welcome to The Creative Constitution. Today I'm joined by Rebecca and Bentley, who is an amazing director, actress, and everything in between. So today we're talking all about making your first feature and the lessons within that. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, thank you for that lovely intro.
Of course. So why don't we start off with a bit of an intro? Talk to me about yourself, where you started.
Easy. So I started out as an actress. I kind of found my way into making films. Like I've always written since I was a kid. But then I lived in Canada for a bit and I made my first short film over there. And I kind of just felt myself drifting a little bit more towards the filmmaking side and kind of like fell out of love. Like I love acting, but I guess I love making films and, creating the kind of content that I always wanted to see and the kind of things that, are not the stereotypical, girls in love with guys.
Yeah.
Naked girls in horror film. So I guess I kind of drifted that way. And I really just focus on, writing stories and creating films that are really focused on unrepresented topics and then bringing more, representation on screen. And I have my own production company that is focused on doing exactly that.
That's amazing. Let's go to the beginning. What got you into film in the first place?
I actually saw when I think it was 12 years old, my sibling was in a play. And I kind of, just to kind of get their shyness out. And so I went along and I was like, hey, that looks like fun. Yeah, so I guess I first kind of found my way when I saw my sibling in a play. And so I kind of was like, hey, that looks like fun. And so I auditioned for this like school/independent project, a play of West Side Story.
Oh, nice.
And so I had my first little ensemble kind of thing. And so I started out in theatre and then because I'm from Perth, and so I moved to Melbourne to study at TAFTA, do their little acting course.
Nice.
And so then I kind of just got into, acting on the screen that way.
That's great.
Doing, and then web series and stuff like that.
Yeah, great. So then you did web series, I'm guessing short films as well. And yeah, nice. The whole
basically
works.
Anything I could get my hands on. I basically was like, when I first started out, I was like, I'm just going to do this and kind of, get that experience.
And I think a lot of people are probably in the same boat as you. Well, from back then, when you're doing acting and you're constantly auditioning, it's not the most fun thing in the world. And then the very low chance that you get the role, that doesn't happen very often. So what kind of got you into the directing, and what was kind of your the thing that made you jump into it?
I mean, I guess I kind of just wanted to give it a go, because I'd worked with my friends and done, different behind the scenes roles. And so I was like, you know what, I might as well give it a go and see what happens. And then I just ended up falling in love with it, which is probably not the, answer that everybody kind of expects, but I gave it a go on a wing, and then
What was it? What was your first project? Was it a feature? Was it a short film?
It was a short film. It was called Forever, and it's like an experimental film. And so it's just about two people's love story. And so it was really good. We had a male actor that kind of fell out, so I didn't have my lead male until the night before we started filming.
Oh my gosh.
So it was very stressful, but the day went really smooth, and it was definitely it all happened for a reason, because they're really amazing in it.
Yeah. Did you write that film as well?
I did, yes.
So you went from actress to writing your own film and directing a short film. That's a pretty big jump. That's great.
Yeah, so I was still acting back then, because that was in Canada as well. But, I'd be staying up super late writing, just doing everything, and, dealing with being tired the next day. And I was like, it's fine.
Sometimes sacrifices must be made.
Absolutely.
And then how many films did you make before giving it a go with a feature?
So I made, oh my gosh. So I kind of made, I think it was at least, I'm just trying to work out, made about 4, just before, 3 or 4. I think it was 3, but then my short film called Him. I did both, so I directed and I starred in it to prepare myself for my feature film.
Okay.
So I kind of did everything just so I could, I guess, prepare myself a little bit. Not that you can ever be prepared for taking on every single role in a feature film. It's very different, which is what I learned. But yeah, so I did about 4 while I was in like development / pre-production for my feature. And then I thought I was ready to go. I mean, you're ready to go. You're never ready.
Yeah, you're never ready. That's true.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I made about 3 films before I jumped in to my feature.
Great. And in your feature, are you starring in that as well?
I am, yes.
Wow. So there you go. A lot of people would be very scared of that.
Yeah. So I directed it, I wrote it, I co-produced it, I edited it, and then I starred in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the what is that, 5 threats?
I'm like just thinking, I was like, in that little, credit things, it's just gonna be me.
It's just
and the
Rebecca.
I'm like, let's never have them all laid out, but yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that's amazing. I think there are so many actors and actresses that are probably looking at doing something like that. So I think your wisdom on that is probably going to be super welcomed. So tell me more about what the process was like when you were actually preparing for the film, and then we can talk about making the film and what came after as well.
Easy. Yes. So I'd written the script and it originally started out as a short film. And so it kind of got rewritten a couple of times. It was nearly going to be made and then wasn't. I was going to direct it and then I was just going to star in it. So it was like it's been going since 2015. It was like a mix of all different kind of things. And then I was speaking to one of my friends in the industry, and she was like, have you thought about making it a feature film? And I was like, oh, actually, no, I haven't. She was like, should consider it. And then I was like, you know what? It's actually got enough depth because it's about violence against men.
Right.
So I was like, it definitely has enough to kind of become, a feature film and explore these 2 characters. So I kind of went all different ways, and I guess it just kind of happened that way. And then when I was super happy with the script, well, as happy as you can be as myself as a perfectionist, I sent it to one of my friends, Kelly Ryan, and because I was just like looking for a producer, because I think I remember putting something out on Instagram, and we had worked with each other before, we knew each other back in Australia, and so she read it, she loved it, she came on board. And then we just we did a crowdfunding, like a video, and we did like recording men, speaking about their experience. Some of them were anonymous, some of them weren't. Of course, as crowdfunding goes, didn't get super successful. So it's mostly self-funded, but it is what it is.
Yeah, crowdfunding is very tough.
Yeah, so tough. And looking back, maybe would have done things differently, maybe done things shorter, but and then we launched into casting, and we did like a pretty, no, not wide casting call, but across Melbourne. We were just kind of putting it out there, looking for basically someone to really play the role of Tom, who's the lead, and just kind of make it them, I guess.
So,
I don't know.
No, that's great. So which role did you have? So I'm guessing yours was already secured and then everyone else was cast around that. It wasn't so much as you cast everyone else and then you were like, oh, I can't find someone to do the role that, is left. So I'm going to do that one. Yeah.
No, so I play Elizabeth, who is the abusive girlfriend. So my thing was like kind of locked in, and we were casting at the same time as looking for the lead Tom, because we couldn't cast the mother unless we had the lead. And I kind of knew who I wanted as the mother, but I didn't want to like kind of go about it in case, we didn't know, what ethnicity or, they were going to be. So we auditioned all different people, but then we also auditioned the psychologist at the same time, the best friend. And then, so we had like quite a few people. And I remember for the psychologist, I remember just having the actor come in, and even from the first self-tape, I was thinking, that's our guy.
Nice.
That's 100%. And even, Kelly was even thinking the same thing. And then obviously we had callbacks. And then I remember being in the room and just being like,
amazing.
yeah, like everybody else was really great as well. But it was just that one little thing that
that little
he brought
extra
to the
little
role.
spark, you know?
Yeah. And then the way that he took, because we revealed like a very big secret as part of the part of like later on it gets revealed. And so we gave that note to the actors, and it was a very intense scene for the callback, and I don't want to reveal too much.
Of course, you
obviously.
have to watch the feature film.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and
did being an actress in the past and kind of having your own experiences with auditioning, did that change the way you auditioned your actors for your feature film?
Yeah, so I think I just had a little bit more of a, I want to say chill vibe, but also not. I mean, I don't know if the.
Well, I guess you know how they feel, right? I guess that
exactly.
changes it a little bit. I think it like gives them a little less pressure because you're like, I get it. I've been there too. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to make it feel like, not so intense, even though it's a very intense script and film. We just kind of wanted to make them feel comfortable and have a little chat beforehand. Like sometimes they're like straight into it. And so we just, would be like, hey, and kind of relax and then give some notes beforehand.
Yeah.
So that, because we'd obviously seen them before. And so we would just give little notes for the scene. And then if we felt like having to do it again, we would, go over it. If we were like, all right, it's not really there from the notes, we just kind of move on to the next scene straight away. And I think, giving directions, I kind of knew how to do it. Like what I had experienced that was terrible and I knew was not going to be right. Like just be angry.
Yeah, that doesn't work, right?
Be angry. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I felt like that kind of helped me and helped me also directing it.
When you were doing all those auditions and once you had kind of secured the cast, did you do a lot of rehearsals beforehand because you knew that when you got onto set, you would have to direct more and kind of be playing both sides of the camera?
Yeah, so we really wanted to, but our kind of time was a little bit limited. So we kind of had them more on the set. Everything like that, because I think we finalized the casting maybe a month or just maybe a month and a bit before we started shooting.
Right.
And so we were only filming on weekends because that just turned out to work out better for everyone. So we just more did it on the set. Like we'd, run through it a couple of times while, they're setting up and doing everything that my amazing crew did. And then we'd go for it, but everyone was super amazing. And sometimes it'd just be like a one take wonder and then a safety take.
Amazing. Oh, I love it when your first take is just amazing and then it's like, okay, we got that one in the bag. We'll just do it again just for safety.
Absolutely. And then it's like, great. And I remember because we had booked out this location for the psychologist's office scenes with the lead for 3 days. And then they were just like smashing through it that we ended up just needing that location for 2 days.
Wow. That's awesome.
It was really great. So it gave us another day to shoot other things.
That's really amazing. That's so good. And then with being on set, because obviously being a director is already a big job. And then you've also got a pretty leading character as well. So tell me about that. What was your experience with that? Any major takeaways?
I think I was very lucky that on the days that I was acting, I had my producer produced. It ended up being 2 producers. A friend called Karina also jumped on board later on. Be on set just to make sure that while I'm in the character, because obviously it's a very intense character, they can be calling cut, and then I'd always be relying on them for like notes about especially myself as well, because you don't really know what's going on, and you don't have time to watch every single the
exactly
takes back.
You don't have time for that. And
Yeah,
I think you
so
also need honesty from your crew to be like, oh, actually, Rebecca, that actually you could improve there or there. Give
yeah,
you some notes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is what I relied on them for, and they were fantastic at that and making
Awesome.
sure that I was happy with everything. And then when it was just like more so the close-ups on someone else, I would, even if I was in that scene, it would give me a little bit more time to kind of take a look at it.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. How big was your crew when you were on set for the feature?
Well, when we were filming outside, we had very minimum crew, like obviously 5 or under. So it was very kind of like hands-on across the board. Um, I don't know how many we had probably in total. I'd have to look back over everything, but I think the most
5 is
possibly we
pretty
had.
small.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
for outside park scenes and things
yeah,
like that. But for the most part, I think we had about 15
that's pretty
to
good.
20.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.
um, which was great. I think, yeah, I think it was around 15 was the most we ever had on set at one point.
How did you end up finding these people? Have you worked with all of them before? Did you do like a Star Now call out? Did you use Facebook? What did you do?
I did all of the above.
Nice.
I kind of I did I think we did Star Now for the DOP, and his name's Johnny Sacco, and I hope I'm saying his name right. Is what's name, and he was really great, fantastic. Like we met up, and he was like super keen on it. We had a discussion. He jumped on board, and he also like had like all the camera, all the equipment, all the even the
Mm.
lighting and sound stuff as well, which was amazing because we didn't have to
Yeah.
rent
Oh,
that
that's always
much.
very handy.
Yeah, and then yeah, everything else I knew the sound recorders, saw one of them from he worked on my last short film before that, and he'd been recommended by a friend. And I guess, yeah, the most people were either like someone I'd worked with before or through Star Now or Facebook,
Mm.
everything that we just kind of were like, hey, anybody want to work on this film?
That's awesome. And how many shoot dates did you end up having for the feature?
You know what? I don't actually know because we were originally going to do, I think, 14. And then we were about 3 days off finishing, and then COVID lockdown happened.
Oh no.
So
The big
we ended
bad
up
wolf arrived.
having to have a halt, and then we thought, okay, cool, we're going to be done in July. We're going to be able to finish again in 2020. And then it was like, nope. And so that it became December.
Wow.
And then we were able to do like 2 more scenes. And then we didn't end up finishing it until May 2021.
Wow.
So,
Right. So it's like multi-year.
yeah, so we're very lucky that it's set like across different like flashbacks that don't happen at like a certain time.
Because it must have
So,
been so tricky. Like, I mean, obviously people change over time and looks change. And if you've got kids involved, it's even worse. But did you have
yeah.
many struggles with kind of looks changing or schedules?
Yeah, we had some schedules change. We actually had to recast one of the bully roles. Like we have this really intense scene with this people bullying this like the younger version of our lead, but he ended up having to move away.
Right.
So by the time we were ready to shoot again, we had to recast that role, and then we just couldn't find the right guy. And I was kind of in development of a web series, and somebody had come in and auditioned. And she looked very, very young, and she was just looked too young for the role that we were looking for. And I was like, maybe I will cast a woman in this role.
Oh, okay.
And
So it
then,
made some
yeah,
adjustments.
exactly. And it ended up being like, I can't see it being a guy now.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. And
Yeah.
did that person that got recast, that person that was initially cast in that role, did they have scenes in the movie before the lockdowns happened?
No, luckily it was just the 2 scenes, and we hadn't shot any of them
Oh,
because we were
nice.
going to plan to shoot them in the same day. So it worked out quite well. Otherwise, yeah, we might have been a little bit screwed and had to reshoot some things.
Yeah, that can be sometimes the trickiest part.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't even imagine having to reshoot, like, let's just say if they're in like 10 scenes, having to do all that again. Oh
No.
gosh.
We already had to reshoot a couple scenes which ended up not making the cut because it just worked better cutting it another way. Made that like director editor the choice. But we had to reshoot some, and it took a while to come back to it because of COVID, and it was like a street walking scene, and it just wasn't like the right kind of like camera equipment stuff that we ended up. Like the DOP was talking to me, and he was like, it would look so much better. And so I was like, all right, let's reshoot it. And then of course, lockdown happened.
Right. And then you were in Melbourne, which was the worst place to be, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, during that time, did you do anything on the feature in kind of the transitory period? Did you add
Yeah, so
anything to the script? Any changes?
um I don't know if there was any major changes to the script, but what I did do is focus on editing it. So I spent a lot of time just editing it, getting it as good because I wasn't working at that
So were you the
time.
editor as well of the film?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was,
You
yeah,
really
main
wanted every
editor.
credit line, didn't you?
I did. You know, and also budget and, stuff like that. And, I wasn't a terrible editor, and I don't think the film turned out terrible. So at least I hope not.
Nice.
We'll see. That's the feedback I've gotten, that it's not terrible, so, and that it's
That's
good.
always a
So,
good thing.
yeah, so I'm hoping. Yeah, so I used that time to really, focus on editing it as much as I could during the lockdown times. So it kept me busy,
Yeah.
which was good.
That's probably in a way a blessing in disguise, because when you are in the midst of shooting and you have your 20 days straight or whatever the shooting period is, sometimes you don't have enough time to put the film together and realize that you don't have XYZ insert shot, or you don't
Yeah.
have that wide shot that you needed, or that establishing shot. So in a way, you probably were like, oh, okay, I've got actually a pretty good thing right now, but I can see gaps here, here, here. Let's get that
Yeah.
sorted next time we're on set.
Yeah, and it kind of gave me a, like we mostly, in most of the scenes, it's mostly just like, close up or medium shots, and stuff like that, which is just kind of like the style that I kind of decided to go for because of what happens in it. Like there's, obviously some scenes, especially when we've got lots of characters, where there's more long shots and medium shots. But yeah, it just kind of gave me a little bit more time to play around and kind of be like, let me try this take and this take, and, kind of, I guess, had that time to decide really between two. Like I could edit it and watch it and then be like, you know what, I think another take will be better, which sometimes you don't really have the time for. You have to be like, all right, this is the take that I've marked as good, so we have to use it. Whereas sometimes the ones I didn't mark on the day, I watched them back and I was like, actually, that's so much better.
Well,
And I'd be
sometimes
like,
you
yeah,
don't know unless you put it together, right?
exactly. And I mean, I think that's why everybody, watches things and as well. And I think biggest thing I learned when, thank goodness I had the lockdown time, I guess, is, I was originally just going to go with the takes that I had marked. And then I was like, you know what, I should probably watch them all before making that decision.
Wow, yeah. Oh, that's great. You never know. There could be a diamond in the rough somewhere and you didn't realize because you were in the midst of a big shooting day. So let's talk about subject matter. So that's something that you're very passionate about. You want to make sure that the subject matters are good, and you're tackling issues that might not be very prevalent in today's cinematic world. So let's talk about that. What inspired the feature film, and then also the production company, and why go that way?
Yes, so I've, kind of had like a rough, I wouldn't say rough upbringing, where I had, my first girlfriend was abusive, even though she'll deny it. So I guess that kind of, yeah, as they do,
Yeah.
inspired it in a way. And when I was first starting to write it, I had a friend, because it was originally going to be like a man abusing a woman. It was going to be kind of typical because I wasn't I guess, comfortable at that point, just writing like two females
Yeah.
that are being abused. And then she was like, what if you make it, you know, a man being abused by a woman? Like, that's never seen, you know,
Yeah.
like not touched on enough. And I was like, that is a really, really brilliant idea. So, yeah, so I guess I use my own experience to come up with it, but then I use that and doing some research on, you know, the fact that men don't speak up about these things. They're, you know, all the percentages are like women based.
Yeah.
And it's like all the people that go to police and get charged. And I was like, that's because men do not feel like they can, you know, speak up. So I did lots of research on that and just ultimately came to that decision that it was something that I'm so passionate about, and making sure that they get heard.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I the fact that it also comes from a very close place in your heart, I think that means a lot. And that probably added a lot of value to the film as well, and the overall outcome of it. So that's really, really good. And what made you start the production company? Did you find that there was a gap in the market for these topics? Is that what drove it?
Yeah, it did. Like I always kind of, as I was, you know, making my short films, I was kind of thinking, oh, I'd really love to, you know, have something like a production company that's behind it, instead of it just being like, you know, independent films. And I also was like, I really want to, you know, have my feature film with my own production company behind it. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, I've kind of been finding myself like, you know, over the last few years and stuff like that. And I was like, it's so important for me, you know, as like a neurodivergent, queer, disabled person, to just kind of represent people in a proper way and like bring more representation, because it is quite overlooked in the industry. So yeah, so I guess I kind of just wanted to take things into my own hands and not only give myself the opportunities that, you know, I've been denied, but also other people.
That's such an entrepreneurial thing, and I think to be honest, your transition from an actress to a director as well can also be kind of seen in that way. You wanted to take the matter into your own hands. So much of being an actor, I think, is like playing in defensive mode. You know, you're like, things are coming to you, and there's nothing you can control. Like that funnel could be super busy or completely dried up, and there's nothing you can do about it. But the moment that you start to think like a director and think like an entrepreneur, that's when things can really change. And that's so evident with what you've done. You know, you started making your short films, and that transitioned into making a really cool feature film. And that story was something that you felt really had to be told. So it's awesome. And then what's been like the biggest learning for you about kind of being a producer and making your own content and, you know, driving that force forward?
I will say, using lav mics, I did not for my film, and I do have a few regrets. Like the sound is not not terrible, and then I used the wrong kind of sound for like some of them. Like you know, didn't use the correct actors, like takes from another scene thing. I would just be like, oh, it's fine, and then I was like, great. So I had to kind of redo some stuff, and having the sound kind of like refixed. So I guess that's kind of my biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
Is use lab mics. I guess don't. I mean, I never really rushed the actors, but I think you know, I could have been a little bit more, you know, organized. Like I kind of left things to kind of other people to try and organize, and I was like, I probably should have taken a little bit more on board and taken things to my control and kind of like follow up, instead of being a little bit, you know, shy, which is, I guess, how sometimes women are made to feel in the industry. So
yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, when I first started as a director, I definitely was very shy about it. You know, I was like really afraid of like offending people or asking too much, or especially when people are coming onto your set and they're maybe not getting paid, and you're like, oh, you know, maybe I will just back off. But the more you kind of do it, the more you realize that people want to be directed, and it's actually not a bad thing being a boss ass bee.
Yeah, exactly. I've learned that, and I'm like, nobody better mess with me now.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but I find that, if you've got a great team behind you and, really amazing people who are passionate about the work, they, you know, they listen to you and they're like super keen. And so it's never like a bad kind of energy of like, why am I not getting paid? Why is there a deferred payment? It's all like we've got to make this.
That's awesome. And then I'd love to wrap up a little bit with, I'd love to hear your takeaways on being a director and actor in your own feature film. I think there are many people that are probably thinking about doing something like that. I know I am. So I'd love to get your advice to young filmmakers that are not maybe getting opportunities as an actor as they wish. So what would you recommend to them?
I would recommend personally making some short films first. 100%. Like, I know some people just jump straight into a feature film, and, it does depend on the person, obviously. But I feel like if you can direct your own work, and especially if you're going to star in the film, I would 100% recommend doing like directing it and also starring in the short film, just so you can kind of see that, that experience and, be prepared for the stress of it on set and kind of having to let go of control when you're, I guess, acting as well, and have really good like producers and people you trust on set. Like the people that I really trusted, my close crew, like the DOP and, my producers, and they were so amazing and it made a difference. Like I could just kind of relax into, doing the acting and knowing that they have my backs,
Yeah.
which is the most thing. And, don't let people tell you can't do it
100%.
because F them. You can do it all.
Hell yeah, you can. And we
Yeah, it's like, all right, cool. Thanks for your input, but no.
to be honest, I think when you let people breathe and you give them the ability to actually do a great job, that really empowers them. And then you
Yeah.
you become a really great Avengers team, as I like to call it. And then you
Yeah.
get an amazing product in the end.
100%. Yeah, so I think, the most important thing is to have people that have the same vision as you, support you, believe in you, don't doubt you for a second. Because if you've got like that negativity on set where someone's like,
Yeah.
maybe you should have cast someone, maybe you should have done that, and
Don't let the little
like it was
voices distract.
exactly, and you already got enough voices in your own head making you doubt. So having somebody else back you and things like that, like even though it was so stressful, obviously working on the low budget and acting in it was very heavy topic.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to kind of do it. I had to be that as well for like not so much closure, but also just to be like, cool, I feel empowered. I'm taking control of the situation
Yeah.
and like really kind of let go of the past, I guess.
Amazing. Where can people find you, Rebecca, and where can people find your feature?
So our feature, we are really, really close to the end now, and then I'm planning to submit it to festivals such as Sundance and Tribeca and stuff.
Amazing.
So hopefully we'll get into at least one of those.
But when you get in,
yeah.
when you get in, you got to come back on, and then you got to tell everybody how you did it.
Yeah, we're like, I don't know how I did it.
I just
But
pressed
I
the
did it.
submit button, and then
I pressed it.
yeah.
And there we go. So you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is It's Rebecca Bentley. I'm more active on there than my Facebook page. Obviously I have my personal one as well, but my active like Facebook page, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, we'll be putting it in the show notes. So
yes,
click
easy.
the links.
Yeah, exactly. And then Bentley.pictures is my Instagram as well for that. And yeah, those are the main places you can find me and
All right, well,
keep up to date.
So good. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming on to this one. I hope you have all learned something about making your first feature and took some great learnings away from this one. I definitely have learned quite a bit. And we will be talking to Rebecca again. Oh, secret topic.
When I get into Sundance.
But thank you so much for listening to the Creative Constitution podcast, and we will catch you in the next one.